Welcome to the review of Shannara. Shannara was created by Legend Entertainment and released in 1995. It's based on the Shannara series of books by Terry Brooks. There's also a recent TV series created by MTV of Shannara. It should be mentioned that the game was designed by Lori Cole and Corey Cole. You might know some of her work as Quest for Glory, and she worked for Sierra Online. Shannara is a puzzle-solving adventure game, mainly point and click. So you play the protagonist of the game, Jacques Olmsford, and his father, Shay, is a legendary hero who defeated an evil warlock, Brona. The druid Alanon tells Jacques that Brona has returned, and the only way to defeat him, besides wielding the legendary sword of Shannara, is to travel to all the different lands and races populating the world and convince them to put their differences aside and join forces to defeat Brona. So Jacques has this journal that he keeps with him throughout the game. He gives the background on the story, plus you can add notes, which you'll probably be needing to do, and it's nice and convenient because you'll be getting all kinds of information during the game. So you're presented with the screen that has simple animations but lovely graphics, and as you hover over various objects and scenery, it will tell you a description of what it is. When you click on a given object, on the right side shows you the options. The bottom of the screen shows the current characters in your party as well as their inventory, and you can switch amongst the different characters. There's also many times where you'll be conversing with different characters in the game, and so it'll flip back and forth showing the person's picture as well as the dialogue, so you know for sure who has made the given statements. Sometimes you'll run across menus where you have to choose options, and this can become quite tedious. The designers were pretty wise though to make the text appear gray after you've already performed a given menu option. The music in the game is quite lovely, and as I already mentioned, the graphics are very nice as well. So you'll be running across trolls and dwarves. You'll get party members such as Sheila in your party, who is a kind of an ornery elf. She's always making smart comments, but I think she has a secret crush on Jacques. You can sometimes navigate from screen to screen by using some commands or clicking on a certain area. You can also click on the right side, the red pointers which show you the various directions that are available to move. There's many different characters in the story. The game does a great job of making you feel like you're in the Shannara world. Now, one of the things about this game which can be quite frustrating is you won't know what to do in most cases. So you spend a lot of time just kind of clicking around trying to figure out what you can do with various objects on the screen. Sometimes you have to actually merge objects together or look and try to get clues to figure out what to do next. But without cheating and looking at hints on the internet, this game is very difficult. It's a lot of trial and error. Not to say it's impossible, but it feels like you waste a lot of time. The game does include what I call cutscenes, where it'll just flip over to some text and maybe show some graphics, maybe show some background information, but sometimes it's just a black background like this. It's kind of strange. It almost gives it kind of an unfinished feel. Again, the music is critical in this game. Without it, it would feel very flat. It really helps influence your mood as you play. There isn't much animation in the game, it's a lot of static art. And the art is beautiful, but that does get a little bit old. It makes it feel more like a story as opposed to being a game. But take a look at some of these pretty graphic scenes. And remember, this is 1995. Now there is a map or an overhead view where you have to navigate around. Here we're heading into a town, and it zooms in once you arrive. A lot of times I found myself wandering around, kind of frustrated, not knowing where to go. The game does give you hints at times, but a lot of times you have to actually try to move there first before it gives you the hints. If you stay on the road, you're actually much safer. You won't get attacked by monsters or anything like that. See here, Sheila just keeps telling us we're going the wrong way. The other thing about the overhead view is you can't swim. So there's these beautiful rivers that you'd like to try to cross, get to the other side, and you can't. Now combat is one of the worst features of this game. I mean, it almost seems like a joke. I guess they were trying to make it feel 3D, but the animations are just really simple and silly, and they kind of look like claymation graphics to me. It's very hokey. And all you can basically do is attack, defend, or retreat. You do have the ability to set orders, and you can control which party members do what. The top of the screen shows you the current monsters and which one's attacking. Once you kill them, they drop off. So here's the orders menu. There's all these different options. So it's kind of a turn-based combat setup, but all you have is like a health bar, as you can see, keeps decreasing. But really, you don't die very much in this game. Even if you lose combat, a lot of times the game will continue. Like, that's what just happened to me there. So since there's no consequences, it doesn't really make it feel like real combat. Now, I'm not saying all combats are that way, but it seems like most of the set combats that you have to fight are that way. Now, if you do get encountered by a random encounter on the map, you can flee. You do that by hitting the retreat button. You're thrown back to the overhead view, where then you can try to move your icon away from the other little monster icons. As I mentioned earlier, you do have your journal, which keeps track of things that happen during the game, which is very convenient. You'll be doing a lot of reading in this game, so it's basically like a storybook that you slightly control. Sometimes you'll see maps, which actually is quite goofy, because in this case it uses the exact same interface for the normal screen where you can interact. What makes this goofy is you can treat them as items. Put lower Anner on Leah. Okay, you would have to be holding lower Anner. Yeah, that's just weird. You'd think they would have taken a little bit of time to at least change the interface so you can't do that. The game does have an options menu where you can see various things such as history. You can change options like sound, voice, music. You can save the game, which is of course very important. And it's nice that you get to name the games, because you'll have many. there's a nice set sound executable that automatically detects what type of sound card you have. It can even try to automatically configure the sound driver, which was important back then. The About menu just gives information about the game. So what did I think about this game? Well, I'm kind of torn. I love the graphics, the sound, and the story. I am not a fan of how you just point and click and randomly try to figure things out, because the clues themselves are not enough. I'm not sure what age group the game designers were targeting, but to think about kids trying to play this game back then, I think they would have an extremely hard time. So here's an example of me fast forwarding, not knowing what to do even on the first screen, till I finally figure it out. The combat looks hokey. I kind of wish they just used static images. It would have been better. These animations are just too goofy looking. And the fact that you don't really lose most of the time when you fight just makes it feel like it's kind of a waste of time. I mean, really, what's the point? And sometimes during the middle of combat you even get these dialogues of people talking, saying what's going on, and that just kind of breaks it up and again makes it not feel realistic whatsoever. The saving grace in combat is the fact that you can give orders to individual characters. But the strength of this game is the characters and the story, and you will meet lots of characters. In fact, you'll even meet a ghost. They call it a shade. The graphics also are excellent and make the game very enjoyable. So as you can see, I'm quite torn. There really isn't much replayability whatsoever, so that's a huge downfall. Now those of you that are familiar with either the Shannara TV series or the books will know what the elf stones are for. So you'll probably really enjoy playing the game even with its flaws. I hope you enjoyed this review of Shannara, and I'll see you next time.